ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
Elmore deep, left side three is good! From 30 feet, John Elmore!
The Drive with Paul Swann.
What we are announcing today is that Jerry Gilbert, we have bought this 8 acres here from Flint Pigments. It's time to build a baseball stadium.
And that's what it sounded like earlier this afternoon. Welcome into another edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. I just flew back from the announcement trying to break all this stuff down, and we've got a lot to get into the next few days, but thankfully, I don't have to break down the mayor's speech because I've got him here with me in studio. Huntington Mayor Steve Williams, our guest to start the show out, and I bet you're relieved to finally be able to make that announcement.
I've been wanting to talk about this for the last couple of years. Certainly for the last year. I think I came over to talk with you this last fall, and we were making so much headway on this. And even when, what was it, a week or so ago that I was on, I knew what was coming. I couldn't say it all daggone. I was been looking forward to being able to come here and let's talk about it.
Yeah, I was hoping you would just drop some knowledge and say, you know what, forget it. You know, you guys can have your announcement. I'm making my announcement now.
The reality is, back in October at homecoming, Mike was planning a meeting with a lot of the alumni from Marshall baseball, and he was wanting to lay out the plans and everything. And I pick up the paper on a Saturday morning, and I see something about it. And I won't on family radio say just what was going on at the time, but the whole idea was we've been working on this since last May, and kept saying we don't make an announcement until we have the land in hand. My biggest fear is that once something drifted out, and if we weren't able to buy the property, then it's one more instance of, well, we've gone up to the edge of the pool and then we're not able to jump in. And today's a good day. We still have an awful lot of work in front of us. Mike has to raise the money, and he has a very ambitious timeline in place. Reality is, it doesn't just start today. He started talking to potential donors last summer and then through the fall. I have no idea how far he is, but I know he still has a lot more to go. Let's talk about where the property is and get people to start dreaming as they're driving down Fifth Avenue, okay?
Yeah, let's do that. So first of all, why that particular lot of land? Why was that the target?
It was the first property that we could buy. We had pretty much given up that property was going to be available. You might recall, 10 years ago, there was a firm that came in out of Lexington, and they were talking about something on this property or right next door with the ACF property.
I remember that well. There was an outline, there was artwork, everything went with it.
Now, everything that they outlined and they were revealing, they hadn't acquired any property. They didn't have any options. Actually, I think they had an option on the ACF property, but certainly not with Flint. And then Flint came back and said, it's not for sale. Early on, when I came into office, I had a meeting with the folks at Flint, and they said it's not for sale. Amazingly, this time last year, none of the property was for sale. In May of last year, we got word that Flint had decided that they were going to sell all of their property. For those who aren't familiar with the Flint Pigments property, if they're familiar with standard ultramarine or old BASF, the plant that made dyes, principally blue dye. If you're on Fifth Avenue, just before you hit 24th Street, as you're crossing the railroad tracks of that railroad spur that's making its way back behind Marshall's football stadium and the indoor practice facility, as you cross 24th Street or cross the railroad tracks immediately look to your left. There's land of storage, some storage buildings there that will be torn down. And right on that land is where the baseball stadium is. Now, if you're driving down through there and you're right near that area, and look immediately over to your left, and that's where the stadium is going to be. In your mind's eye, if you're not driving down Fifth Avenue, imagine once again you're looking over to the left, and what you will, once you cross the railroad tracks, you're seeing some big towers being built right now. Appalachian Power is running some heavy power lines through that area. Just east of that, to get out of that easement, is where the stadium will be built. And then just a little beyond that, as you're looking on Fifth Avenue, looking towards the river into that lot, we will be looking right down the first base line. Now, that's going to be a beautiful sight. Mike tells me that the plans are for 3,500 seats, the minimum standard to meet minor league standards, and also the minimum standard to be able to host regional NCAA baseball tournaments. Mike has a vision very similar to mine. You do it right, or you just don't. You just don't do it. This is what the town deserves, and this is what Marshall needs. And then there's the two come together. So what we've done is we have bought the land on that storage lot. Where the press conference was on the parking lot on the east side of 24th Street. And that property, the plan right now is for that to be the parking lot for the stadium. It will have 3,500 seats. There will be coaches' offices in there, dressing rooms in there, as I indicated, for it to be able to be used for minor league baseball. First priority, obviously, is Marshall and its baseball program, but the baseball program goes on into June. If they're playing on into the tournaments, we'd be looking for a minor league team to be able to come in and start mid-June and go on into August and September. Daggone, this is going to be good. Just to imagine, in Huntington, in the downtown area, right next to Marshall, to hear the crack of a baseball bat in the spring, summer, and early fall, that's really exciting. And this is the first domino to fall. We bought this land. Think of this, Paul. The last time that this land was not being used for heavy industrial purposes was in 1870, the year before the city of Huntington was founded. Because in 1871, Collis P. Huntington built a railroad manufacturing company to make the railroad cars to ship all of the natural resources back to the eastern seaboard. And ever since that time, all of that land from the river all the way back beyond Fifth Avenue has been heavy industrial. It's been out of service for nearly a couple of decades now, and we have the opportunity to put it back, be able to prove that we can build on this land. You know, with all the talk that we've had, there's some environmental stuff that you're having to deal with, and we began looking at the environmental cleanup that will be necessary, and there's some things for us to clean up, but not so much that it makes it cost prohibitive. You're able to clean it up, and then we're able to build on that, and that will also be the first domino, while other dominoes will begin to fall.
Okay, I want to talk about those dominoes, but we need to take our first break, so let's go ahead and do that. Then we'll have more time to get into all of that and hear a little bit from earlier today from the press conference. Jack Cook, of course, stole the show. We'll talk about that when we continue with today's edition of The Drive, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Now, back to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
One thing I want to tell Mike and everyone else, is to get this field ready in a hurry. You know, as Joe Nuxall used to say, old coach is around in third and heading for home.
That's Jack Cook earlier this afternoon as the announcement was made that the property had been purchased, and the first steps are taking place right now to build Marshall a baseball stadium. Welcome back to The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Joining me in studio, Huntington Mayor Steve Williams. And Jack Cook's been waiting a long time. He's 93 now. He's been sitting patiently waiting for a ball stadium.
Yeah, I called Coach Cook up last fall when it looked like that we had the agreement to buy the stadium, and it was just a matter of going through all the steps that we had to go through to be able to finally get it. Now, he taught and coached with my dad. And I was in high school with his daughter. His daughter was a cheerleader at Huntington High and at Marshall when I was playing. So our families have known each other for forever. And he calls me Stevie. And I said, Coach, had called to tell you that we have bought the property, have come into an agreement, and we're going to be able to build a baseball stadium. And he said, well, Stevie, you know, when I was recruited to come over to coach at Marshall in 1969, they told me then that we were going to have a stadium. Then he started telling me about all the times since then that he was told. And I said, Coach, in other words, what you're telling me, you'll believe it when you see it. So when I walked up to him today, I thought he would be all smiles and grins. And certainly he was his charming diplomatic self up at the microphone. And he said, yeah, I've been to a few of these announcements already. So he's accepting that he's got two sons of coaches who are responsible for getting this thing done, and I think he trusts that we will get there. But as he was saying, hurry up and let's do it, because I cannot wait for us to be able to have this, and then I pray that he'll be able to walk out with us onto the field.
Yeah, and your friend and mine, Mike Hamrick, after Jack gave that speech basically saying, hey, hurry up, let's get this thing built, Mike took the stage again, and I thought he was a little emotional when he was talking about it, and here's what he said.
I had lunch with Coach Cook and a couple of his players 4 or 5 months ago and visited with Coach about this. And like he said earlier, he said, Mike, I'm getting old. He said, I'm rounding third, heading for home. And I kind of looked at Coach and I said, well, Coach, I've never played baseball. I've never coached baseball, but I'm going to stand in that third base's coach's box, and I'm going to put my hand up, and I'm going to stop you, and I'm going to say, Coach, just hang right there on third base until we get this baseball stadium built.
How important is it that he sees this finished product?
I'm almost – I don't want to even jinx it. I live and pray for the moment that I can be standing by him when this is being done. This would be as special to me as if my dad was standing right there with me. And as we saw today, there are a lot of people who love Jack Cook in this town and in this area, and it's even more reason why we have to be successful with the fundraising effort. Once we know that the money is there, then Mike and Marshall University will be able to put it out for bid and be able to award the construction contract. And I believe firmly that Coach Cook will be there. Listen, he's 92 years old. He is as sharp. He's sharper than I am, and we might have to wheel him out in a wheelchair because he's having a little more difficulty getting around. but that man is when I called him up and I was saying, this is Steve Williams, I felt like I was afraid when I called him up that I was going to have to explain who I was. Well, Stevie, how are you? How's your mama doing? And just, Mark, how's your brother? He went right through the family. Even when he was up on stage, I thought he kept talking about Mike, and I thought he's not going to remember who I am. And then Mayor Williams, I mean, I was hoping to get a Stevie or something out of him. What a wonderful man.
You also surprised him. He wasn't expecting everything that happened today. Of course, the ballpark, he's going to be a little skeptical until he actually sees it. He's actually in the stadium, on the mound, in the dugout. He's going to be skeptical until that happens. But you already surprised him with a pretty nice gift. He gets his own traffic sign. Yeah,
I had decided some time ago that we were going to, once we knew the 24th Street would be the street that would front the stadium, that we were going to name that Coach Jack Cook Way. And it's going to be it's a nice sign. It has a Marshall baseball cap with the Marshall Block M on the upper left-hand corner, and then on the right-hand corner, 2 baseball bats crossing each other with the baseball in the middle. It's white with green. It's going to be nice.
So, with all of that said, you've got the first steps going. The ballpark's not the end of this project. There's more to this than just having that ballpark here. And I talked to Mike Hamrick a little bit later on, and we'll play that for everyone. But this is a project that doesn't begin and end with the ballpark. You've got bigger plans.
Actually, I've finished one part now. Mike has to raise the money. I have other land that I have to acquire. Neither one of our jobs are finished. It's like this is what reminds me of when I was playing ball. If you scored, you hand the ball to the referee and go and line up again. The game's not over. We celebrate that this is a score, but this isn't over. I have another teammate that's going to be able to finish this off, and that's Mike Hamrick. We set out our plans very boldly 4 years ago, and we were able 2 years ago to win the first place prize in that competition, in the $3 million. By the way, if folks aren't aware, of that $3 million, we used $500,000 from the $3 million to help buy the property. So that's folks have been asking, well, what are you doing with the winnings from the America's Best Communities? This is one of them, $500,000 to help buy this property. And we're proud to be able to do it. There are other properties in the Highlawn area. ACF, we're having conversations with the company. Ingram Barge, which is off of 24th Street, right down on the east part of the riverbank where the West Virginia American Water Works plant is located. The old Huntington coal terminals was in that area, and we're buying that 28 acres. We expect that we'll be closing on that property in March. And as I said, we're having active conversations with ACF. We also have plans that are going on over in the Fairfield area that we talked about some last week. So what I've said all along, and you have so much tape of me saying, first we have to buy the land. I've been making plans these last 6 years with other people's property. What's amazing about this, and if we have a moment, let me just at least tell this. Last May, or this time last year, February 2018, we didn't know that this property was going to be available. We were thinking if we were going to build a baseball stadium, it might have to be that one parking lot fronting 3rd Avenue or over behind probably behind the Dodd Hicks softball stadium. And then we got word that Flint Pigments was wanting to sell all 20 acres. There's 12 acres of plant on the south side, the right side of 5th Avenue, and then the 8 acres that we just bought on the north side or the left side of Fifth Avenue. When we got word that property was for sale, I've known the real estate broker for nearly 30 years who was representing Flint Pigments, and he came in and met with us. Mike Hamrick came in, and Mike and I met before going in to meet with him. And Mike and Jerry Gilbert and I decided the city would make a bid on the property because there was some discussion. Does Marshall want to buy this? And I said, we'll buy it. And we'll either give it to you or lease it to you for a long-term contract, a long-term lease. I wanted to leave some options open that if a private developer came in and wanted to help build the stadium and do some other retail and other things around it, that would be even better. So let's try to keep our options open. But the agreement was we weren't going to bid against one another. We would understand that the property would be a baseball stadium. We found that out in May. So as long as this process is taken, that, I'm not the most patient person in the world, and it should have been done, in my opinion, a couple of years ago, but we didn't have any land to be able to do it on. And finally, now that we have bought the land, as soon as that we were able, we were sitting with Mike and Jerry Gilbert and Coach Cook to be able to make the announcement. It's a good day for Huntington.
Yep, Mike Hamrick's not a patient man either because this is about a minute and a half, so this is him building up to what he calls a vision, and he stresses that we're not sitting around waiting for this to happen. It's going to happen, and here's how he outlines it.
You can see our vision of a stadium that goes on this plot of land behind me. And I always talk about a vision, and my staff just wears me out, but a lot of people don't know what a vision is. I've always said a vision is a dream with a deadline. It's a dream with a deadline. That's the dream. The deadline is, come this November, we want to put this out to bid for someone to step up and build that stadium and start that construction next March in 2020. And it'll take us 12 months to build that baseball stadium. And we will play ball in that baseball stadium in March 2021. That is a very, very ambitious timetable.
So we know when it's going to open now.
2021. 2021. Coach Cook will be out there to toss the first pitch. And I really, it's funny. I watch Mike and how he runs things in the athletic department and how we seek to run things in my administration. There's such a similarity in that he and I really do believe. He says, what is it? A dream is what, with a deadline?
Yeah, vision is a dream with a deadline.
Vision with a dream with a deadline. And I'm saying make no little plans. I mean, let's go big or don't go. The one big challenge that I think that we have in this region is there's a quote that I heard from Michelangelo years ago that I thought that defined the way that we looked at things around here, is that the greater danger for most of us isn't that we set our goals too high and fall short, but that we set our aim too low and achieve the mark. We have to have great aspirations. And daggone it, if we have a responsibility to be realistic about what we're doing, but also aspire to do great things. I believe that we were made for a time like this. That's why Mike Hamrick and Steve Williams from those teams from the 1970s, and the day in and day out that we battled on the practice field, that we find ourselves as him leading the athletic department, me leading city government. for Jerry Gilbert to be where he is as president, there's a reason why the three of us are able to be here. And we aspire to do great things, and we won't settle for anything less.
Huntington Mayor Steve Williams is joining us in studio. When we come back from break, we've got some remarks from Mike Hamrick. You haven't heard this yet, Mr. Mayor, so if you this will all be new to you when we continue with today's edition. Yeah. Oh yeah. This is all new to you. You haven't. He spoke to our microphones.
Okay. Oh boy.
So we'll talk to Mr. Hamrick when we continue with today's edition. I call him Mr. Hamrick. I don't know why he's Mike.
He's burly to me.
I'll call him Mr. Hamrick and stay on his good side. We've got more on the way. It's The Drive, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Don't worry. Paul Swann has the wheel on The Drive, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Welcome back to the February 21st edition, The Drive on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Huntington Mayor Steve Williams joining me in studio as well. As today the announcement came down, the official announcement. We saw some leaks, and I'm going to tell you right now, I had words with Herald-Dispatch reporter Tim Stevens about that earlier.
No.
Yeah, on the parking lot. I had some words with him today.
Yeah. Well,
he's a good guy. He took the abuse well. I have words with him.
You know, Tim's a reporter. He heard things last fall, and when he came out with the story, I thought, "Good Lord, have mercy." We were all making sure that we were holding the line, and then this past weekend, when Mike, I guess it was on Saturday, when Mike sent something out that we're all going to be getting together for a big announcement, and then son of a gun, it was the headline, and I thought, "Jeez, oh Pete." Well, one way or the other, I guess the way that you can look at it, as it starts to leak out, it creates a buzz, and if it had all just come out this morning or yesterday that something was about to be announced, we wouldn't have had the crowd that we had today. And thank goodness for the weather.
Yeah.
It was so sunny, and that was wonderful.
So I had a chance to catch up with a few other members of the media earlier after the speech, and pay attention because Mike Hamrick says something nice about you. Actually, and I have it recorded. I'll send you a copy of it later.
Let's make this into a commercial. Okay?
We can do that. Here's Mike Hamrick talking to the media about why the announcement is taking place now.
If we weren't confident that we couldn't do this, we wouldn't have asked you guys to come out here and all these people to come out here. So we're very confident, just like we were with that building and that soccer facility. We've started working. We've got good people. And like I said, I'm going to reiterate, I believe the Marshall fan base, and I believe this community in the tri-state area will rally around this project like no other project. I really believe that.
Turf infield, grass outfield, or
no? Just it'll be. Well, we've started with that. Probably all turf, lights, 3,500 seats, a great clubhouse, locker rooms. A stadium that will be built if we at some point have a minor league ball team here in the summer after Marshall gets finished playing. But I believe we can have a great baseball program. If we build the right facility.
Which leads me into another question. How have you? I know you probably thought of everything, but when you're looking at like short season teams, Happy League teams, has that come across?
We've had a lot of discussions about that with several people. To answer your question, yes. Yes.
What's it mean to Huntington and Marshall? It's always kind of been a baseball area to finally have someplace here, concrete, close to campus.
Keith, it means everything. I mean, there people from day one, the first day I arrived at Marshall, when are we going to build a baseball stadium? Well, it took 10 years to start it, and today's about 10 years, and we had to do some other things first. We had to build the indoor, and we had issues. We needed a track, we needed a Hall of Fame, we needed but we've got that all done, and that's state of the art, and it was time for baseball, and everything played together with this property and the support of the mayor and the president, and we all just came together, and here we are guys, knowing that in March of 2020 we'll start construction. In March of 2021 we'll be playing baseball in a 3,500 seat state-of-the-art baseball stadium.
What can this do for this community?
I think it can do for this community what the facilities we've already built have done. I mean, what we have at our soccer facility, what we have in our indoor facility from outside events coming here. This will not just be Marshall's baseball stadium. This will be the community's baseball stadium. Marshall will be the priority, but you talk about some kind of minor league team, short season team. I mean, we're going to go out and try to bring every baseball tournament and event we can into this facility because it's good for Huntington. If we bring people to Huntington, it's great for our city. We all live here. I live here, and it'll be great.
Within your all sports program, athletics program, for Jeff Wagner, I mean, this is a game changer. Getting guys on campus and being able to show them, hey, this is where we're going to have a baseball.
This is a game changer like no other game changers for our baseball program. You can't bring a recruit to Huntington and say we're going to play 50 miles away, or we're going to play in a high school stadium, or we're going to play somewhere else. You just can't do that. And this gives Coach Wagner and his program a legitimate chance to compete in a fair manner, and our baseball program has never had that. I mean, for all of us, it's been around a long time. It's amazing Jack Cook has won as many games as he won, and the coaches have won the way they've won with not having a facility. I mean, can you imagine that picture of that facility sitting right there? Wow.
Steve Williams has been a great partner. You two have worked well together, and he's talked about really transforming this area, Huntington. What do you see, or what do you envision with this baseball park being the cornerstone that this region could be, or this area?
Well, I think the soccer facility says it best, and the indoor. This community, this part of town, has benefited from those facilities. And you put a diamond, no pun intended, a baseball diamond, like right in the middle of this with the business and the traffic and the aesthetics that it's going to be great for the Highlawn district. And I give the mayor credit. I mean, he wants to clean up this city and make it the beautiful city that it was at one time. And I applaud Steve, the mayor, and the city for it.
And we'll leave it at that. So I'll send you a copy of that. He's saying nice things about you.
Wow, I need to. I'll send Saletta a dozen roses.
Okay,
and then I'll put Mike's name down at the bottom of it. Well, that was awfully nice. But he is. He's right on target in this regard with the soccer complex, the indoor practice facility, and the track, the softball field, football stadium, and the basketball arena. With what we have there, the only thing I think that's missing is an outdoor track, and that can be create a dual purpose for some other athletic facility. But the whole idea is for us to become a mini version of Indianapolis, where Indianapolis built these really nice sporting complexes, and they brought international sports and professional sports into their town. Now, Huntington certainly would never be able to get that, but we can have collegiate and interscholastic tournaments brought into the soccer complex, baseball, to have the state baseball tournament in Huntington. The things that we could have at the softball tournament. I just see that there's that translates into millions and millions of dollars being spent in our community. We're doing it already with some of the Little League tournaments that are brought into our town. People are amazed at our downtown area and just how nice it is. With the soccer tournament that comes to Barboursville, shoot fire! It's in Barboursville, but they have their opening ceremonies at the football stadium. So this is outstanding opportunity for us, and the baseball stadium is a critical component of that.
Huntington Mayor Steve Williams joining us in the studio. I've got to hit our final break. When we come back, I've got one more piece of audio I want to play for everyone today. I had a chance to sit down just for a few minutes with Jack Cook. So you haven't heard this either, so hopefully you'll get a smile out of this as well when we continue with this edition of The Drive, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
You're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Welcome back to the February 21st edition. The Drive continues on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Huntington Mayor Steve Williams joining us. And today was a great day for Huntington, but especially for Coach Jack Cook, who spry at his age, still ready to go. And Mr. Mayor, you haven't heard this yet, so had a chance to catch up with him just a few minutes after everything had settled down, and just want to get his thoughts on what the moment really meant to him, and that's where we begin. This is a day that maybe you thought you'd never see.
Well, I really didn't. I knew one of these days they'd have to get a ball field, and we went over several different sites and everything, and evidently this came up, and it proved to be the one that really brought it to fruition.
What does this day just mean to you? The fact that it's here, it's finally moving forward.
Well, like I say, I've been waiting for this for a long, long time. And I just hope that the new coach, well, he's not new. He's been here a few years now. I just hope this gives him a chance to I can't.
On a personal note, how does it feel to know that so many people still love you, remember you, that appreciate everything that you've done, and you've been a part of this university so long?
Well, I appreciate that so much. I mean, I was at Marshall for 23 years, and I've taught in the PE department. I've coached, and I've met so many wonderful people, and I'm just glad that I couldn't believe this many people come out today.
That crowd was great for this announcement.
Crowd.
I mean, we all knew what it was. Sorry, it was not a very well-kept secret at some point.
Well, that's okay.
But a lot of people came out, and he was genuinely surprised with everything that happened after the announcement, because, again, he's heard that before.
He's heard it before, and as I indicated, that's a little bit of the running joke. I do think that the size of the crowd surprised him, and I'm pleased that he was surprised that the street was going to be named after him. I don't know that he was expecting to be asked to stand up and speak, but wow. What we were able to hear today from such a wonderful gentleman is something that we all will cherish.
Now, after tonight, you get to go home and then go to bed, get ready to go again at 5 a.m. or whatever.
Yep.
Crazy hour you get into the office, and what's the next project? Come on, give me something.
I've got 3 projects.
Okay.
I've got to buy the land in the rest of the Highlawn area. We've got the Municipal Development Authority. Over at Fairfield, we have projects that we want to have done, and we're still trying to build the gigabit city high-speed broadband in the market. So we've got more than enough to keep us busy. Job's not done, but now's time to get it done.
I've got a list of things. We'll go over that off the air. We don't have time to go over that list. I've got a few things.
Okay.
Hockey, the usual things. Huntington Mayor Steve Williams in this program with us today. Thanks. Appreciate you being here, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, thanks, Paul. It's great to be here.
He's heading out of here quickly because he knows that hockey conversation's coming up again as soon as the show's over. That's going to do it for this edition. For my guest, Huntington Mayor Steve Williams, I'm Paul Swann. Thanks for tuning in to today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
WRBC Huntington, W227BS Huntington, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Huntington Sports Station.